Singapore very small lah. So many people, so many buildings. Got what animals, yeah? That's a line I hear all the time. But here's the thing. Behind the concrete MRT tracks and shopping malls, Singapore hides a surprising secret, one of the richest biodiversities for such a small country. I've spent over 10 years as a wildlife photographer documenting animals here in Singapore. And today, we're diving deep into a list of rare or extinct species and figuring out, are they truly gone from our island forever? Or is there still a chance that they're still here? This is based on real sightings, conservation data, and news, but also some of my personal thoughts as someone who's been out in the field. So, let's start with a big one. The Malayan tiger. This animal strikes fear and awe in equal measure. Historically, they were feared in early colonial Singapore, with several reports of tiger attacks in the 1800s, especially in plantations and near the forested Bukit Timah area. Singapore was once part of a continuous landmass with the Malay Peninsula during the last ice age, and tigers roamed freely. But as forests were cleared for plantations, encounters with tigers became more frequent and lethal. In fact, the Singapore tiger legend lives on in the Tiger Balm name. But the last confirmed wild tiger in Singapore shot and killed in Choa Chu Kang in the 1930s. With our current urban landscape, even our largest forest patches like Bukit Timah and Central Catchment are far too small to support a tiger, and there is no ecological corridor for one to swim over unnoticed now. So, verdict, definitely extinct, no chance of return. Next up, the Malayan Tapir. It looks like a cross between a panda and a pig, but is actually more closely related to horses and rhinos. This large herbivore was thought to be long gone from Singapore, until a wild tapir was spotted in Pulau Ubin and Punggol in recent years. NParks believe it swam across the Johor Strait, which, while impressive, is not impossible. Tapirs are excellent swimmers. Historically, tapirs were native to lowland forests across Singapore and Malaysia, but deforestation and urbanization likely led to their disappearance from Singapore. The individuals that came over were likely dispersing young adults, possibly looking for new territory due to pressure in Malaysia. Our fragmented forests are not suitable for long-term survival of a species this large and sensitive to habitat changes. Verdict: extinct locally, but occasional vagrants may visit. Now, Asian elephants in Singapore sounds impossible, but it happened. In 1990, 3 elephants were found wandering on one of our offshore islands, Pulau Tekong. Like the tapir, they had swum over from Johor. Elephants are incredibly intelligent and capable of swimming several kilometers across rivers or straits. But again, Singapore lacks the continuous forest and space to support such a massive animal. They need hundreds of square kilometers to roam, feed, and socialize in herds. These elephants were eventually tranquilized and repatriated back to Malaysia, but the incident sparked public fascination and debate about human-wildlife conflict and connectivity between Singapore and Malaysia's remaining forests. Verdict: locally extinct and highly unlikely to establish a population here. The leopard and the clouded leopard were once top predators in Southeast Asia's dense forest. Singapore likely had them in the past, though evidence is scarce and largely historical. Old colonial naturalists in the 19th century, including those cited in zoological reports and museum records, occasionally documented leopards in the Malay Peninsula and possibly even southern Johor, suggesting they may have roamed into Singapore's primary forests before widespread deforestation. As for the clouded leopard, it's a secretive and highly arboreal cat, often dubbed the ghost of the forest. It was once thought to be a single species, but in 2006 it was officially split into two: the mainland clouded leopard, found across mainland Southeast Asia, and the Sunda clouded leopard, found only in Borneo and Sumatra. Singapore, being part of the Malay Peninsula and connected to Johor historically via land bridges, would have been within the southern fringe of the mainland species' historical range. However, there are no confirmed records or physical evidence directly linking clouded leopards to Singapore, and no sightings or camera trap footage in the last century. Given their need for vast connected lowland forests and their sensitivity to disturbance, it is highly unlikely that clouded leopards could have survived here once logging and urbanization began in the 1800s. Verdict for both the leopard and the clouded leopard: extinct locally, no verifiable records or recent evidence. So let's go a little bit smaller, the leopard cat. It's like a house cat with a wild look and incredible hunting instincts. This elusive feline was once believed extinct in Singapore too, until camera traps and recent sightings confirm they still exist in forested areas. There's even an organization in Singapore called SWAG, the Singapore Wildcat Action Group, working to conserve this species. They're difficult to see and photograph, but they're real. Leopard cats are mostly nocturnal and thrive in forests, but urbanization and roads threaten their survival. Still, there is hope, especially with the recent Mandai Wildlife Bridge helping to reconnect forest fragments. Verdict: definitely around, but highly elusive and rare. Here's an animal covered in spiky armor, the Malayan porcupine. They used to be found in the central catchment area and offshore islands like Tekong and Ubin. The last confirmed sightings are over a decade ago, mostly via camera traps. Since then, silence. But they are nocturnal burrowers and can avoid detection for years. There are a few anecdotal reports from hikers and rangers, but nothing really concrete to back up the claims. The porcupine's diet consists of roots and fallen fruits, so Singapore's forests could still support a small population, but habitat fragmentation poses major threats. Verdict: possibly still around, but numbers are likely extremely low and they may be functionally extinct. Now, imagine a squirrel the size of a cat leaping between treetops. That is the cream-colored giant squirrel. It's majestic, fast-moving, and needs tall connected forest canopies, which Singapore sadly has very little of. No confirmed sightings in decades. It's still present in the Malaysian forest above our country, but not here in Singapore. Without large old trees and continuous canopy roots, this squirrel simply cannot survive. Verdict: likely extinct in Singapore. The next one is a comeback story. The Sambar deer was once extinct in Singapore, but sometime in the 1970s to 1980s, it is believed a few individuals escaped from the zoo and found refuge in our central catchment area. Over time, the Sambar deers established a breeding population. They're now regularly seen by photographers, hikers, and passers-by alike, and I have personally photographed them here in Singapore as well. They are large, majestic, and shy, but definitely here. Verdict: definitely present. Next, we move on to the most trafficked mammal in the world, the Sunda pangolin. Despite poaching in the region, we've managed to keep a viable population here, thanks to strict laws and public education. These pangolins are insectivores, feeding on ants and termites, and I've seen one up close, and let me tell you, watching one trundle through the undergrowth is absolutely magical. Unfortunately, quite a few pangolins have been the victims of roadkills over the years. Both NParks and acres help rescue pangolins, given their increasing propensity to venture out of our forests due to habitat loss. Verdict: alive and fighting, but needs protection more than ever. Then we have the greater mouse deer. Rediscovered on Pulau Ubin and Tekong, this tiny ungulate is about the size of a rabbit but walks like a deer. Here in Singapore, we have both the lesser and greater mouse deer. The lesser mouse deer is more commonly found on mainland Singapore and isn't too difficult to find. Just like the lesser mouse deer, the greater mouse deer is skittish, active at dawn and dusk, but I have managed to film them and it's a rewarding experience. Verdict: definitely around, mostly offshore islands in Singapore. Now, let's end this video with one of Singapore's rarest primates, the banded leaf monkey or the Raffles banded langur. Found only here and in South Johor, these monkeys live in the central catchment forest. Less than 70 individuals remain here in Singapore. They're shy, eat young leaves and shoots, and are vulnerable to habitat loss. But conservation efforts like the Raffles banded langur working group are helping. Verdict: still here, but critically endangered. So, here's the thing. This list, it barely scratches the surface. There are so many more animals that call Singapore home, or once did. We've had snakes thought to be lost that were suddenly rediscovered, the Selangor mud snake and the Peter's keelback for instance. Or what about birds, like the straw-headed bulbul, one of the most beautiful and sought-after songbirds in the world. It's vanished in many parts of Southeast Asia due to poaching, but somehow it still holds on here in Singapore. So, what happened? Why have so many vanished? The answer is simple and heartbreaking: habitat loss. Urbanization, development, and fragmentation of our forests have pushed many of these species to the edge, and some have already tipped over into extinction. But that does not mean it's too late. We have seen species return, like our hornbills and our otters. We have seen others hang on by a thread, and we've seen that with the right protection, some of them can thrive again. So, if there is one takeaway from this video, it's this: Singapore isn't just a city, it's also a living, breathing ecosystem, and we need to start treating it that way. So, the next time someone asks, "Got what animal in Singapore?" you can proudly say, "Wow, way more than you can ever imagine." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content around wildlife and wildlife photography. You can also support this channel by buying me a cup of coffee, link in the description down below. Until next time, keep your eyes open. You never know what's still out there.